It's all absurd. And again, it's all about small men acting tough. As we know, Donald ran on a platform in 2024 of lowering costs, bringing down inflation, and making the government run more efficiently. All things he accused President Biden of not being able to do. He even, probably for the first time in his life, went to a grocery store. Amazing. All of that, of course, was a complete lie. Shocking, I know. But not only has Donald not saved taxpayers' money, he is spending our tax dollars at an alarming rate and doing so to enable dangerous actions that benefit no one but himself and those closest to him, which is basically a bunch of other rich white guys. So let's focus on Donald's so-called budgeting skills. The New York Times' Sean Huebler wrote a report stating that Donald's unnecessary Los Angeles National Guard deployment has cost $120 million so far. California Governor Gavin Newsom gained access to these figures after filing a public records request with the Defense Department. Donald deployed these troops illegally and unconstitutionally back on June 7th in the wake of totally peaceful protests against his horrifying and cruel immigration policies. Los Angeles news station ABC7 has a breakdown of the costs for each element of this exercise in optics. Take a look.
Here's the breakdown. More than 4,200 National Guard soldiers and 700 Marines cost $71 million for food and other basic necessities. $37 million went to payroll, more than $4 million in logistics supplies, $3.5 million in travel, and $1.5 million in demobilization costs, bringing the total to more than $117 million. A court recently ruled Trump's deployment of troops to LA was illegal.
Here's the only question we should be asking. For what? What was the point of setting so much of our money on fire? Simply so Donald could use the military to bolster up his own failing image as a tough guy. Because he knows he isn't one, and he knows that even people among his supporters are starting to realize it as well. I want to talk a little bit about the Defense Department. Thanks to Donald, the Department of Defense may not be called that anymore because he's really good at coming up with ways to waste our money. Last week, he signed an executive order that seeks to change the name of the Department of Defense to, yes, the Department of War. Take a look at this clip of Donald using his pen to make a mockery of the agency that oversees our military and was created to provide for the common defense.
We've been talking about this Department of War. So we won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between. And then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War. And I'd like to ask our Secretary of War to say a few words. Pete Hegseth. I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far.
Yes, it's a perfect name for a tiny man who is very weak. Here's the thing, though. Speaking of weakness, Donald does not have the power to rename this department, at least not officially. All this order does is initiate a so-called rebranding, which, again, is going to cost us a lot of money. ABC News has more on the pointlessness of Donald's little ego-protecting exercise.
And now, Karen, a formal name change requires congressional approval. So what's the president trying to do with this executive order?
It's a rebranding, as you put it, Diane. The president has long said he wants to do this. He thinks this is better reflective of what the mission is there at the Pentagon, at the Defense Department. And so today with this executive order, he is saying that you can call it the Department of War. But in order to formally, officially change the name of the department, that would have to go through Congress. So what this means now is that through the official correspondence, for ceremonies, and through some non-statutory documents, it could be called that. The Secretary of Defense, now Pete Hegseth, could be called the Secretary of War, but you can still call him the Secretary of Defense.
It's all absurd. And again, it's all about small men acting tough. But at what cost? Now, you might say, what's the harm in a little rebranding? I would say that it changes the perception. of what we stand for, that is not nothing. But also, this is going to end up costing billions of dollars in taxpayer money. Media8's Jennifer Bowers-Bonney says that according to a report, this unofficial name change could carry a hefty price tag. Her article quotes this report, quote, "It would likely cost billions of dollars to change the names of hundreds of Pentagon agencies, their stationery, emblems, plaques, and other signage of the Defense Department, along with bases around the world. The expense could put a serious dent into the administration's effort to slash Pentagon spending and waste," unquote. I ask again, for what? To protect Donald Trump's pathetically fragile ego, to protect Donald Trump from the knowledge that he is nothing of what he claims to be, and he's going to set as much of our money on fire as he needs to. The problem is this: it will never be enough. Nothing could fill that void. Nothing could prevent him from the realization that he is a failure. Donald's tab for taxpayers keeps getting larger. Again, not that he cares. We're seeing that his National Guard takeover of U.S. cities has served no purpose other than trying and failing to intimidate us, and once more, wasting money. An article by CNN's Haley Britsky reports that multiple sources estimated that the Washington, D.C. troop deployments daily cost about $1 million a day. Again, that's 4 times what it would cost to house all of the homeless people in Washington, D.C. As of last week, nearly 2,254 National Guard troops were still stationed in the city. The CNN piece goes on, quote, "In addition to the service members' pay during the mission while they're on orders, the total cost of the mission also includes basic logistical needs like hotel rooms for out-of-state troops, food and water, fuel for vehicles, laundry services, and more," unquote. Now, will any of the so-called conservative budget hawks speak up about this reckless spending that, again, is for absolutely nothing? None of this makes anybody's lives better. This is to keep Donald's base afraid, especially of the enemy, which is anybody living in a blue city, and to prop himself up. Nobody in the Republican Party is going to say a word, either because they're afraid of Donald Trump, which is really saying something about what cowards they are, or because they want to cling to power just as desperately as their leader does. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.